Hey everyone, welcome back. We're diving deep today, get it? Diving deep. Anyway, today we're going to explore something super interesting. How a student's identity, their background, their culture, you name it, can really affect their whole experience in school.
Yeah, it's really fascinating stuff.
Like I've been thinking about it, and even just remembering my own time in school, I can definitely see how certain parts of who I am, help me in some ways, but maybe held me back in others.
Totally. And that's what's so cool about this deep dive.
Right?
We've got all this research that's like busting this myth that kids are just blank slates when they walk into a classroom. Nope, not even close. Educational researchers are digging into how our identities, like all the different parts of who we are, they call it intersectionality. It really impacts how we learn and engage with everything in school.
It's true. And that intersectionality thing, the source material really digs into it.
Yeah.
And it says our identities can actually be both, like superpowers and kryptonite in the classroom, which is wild.
Right. It's like this paradox.
Total paradox, yeah. And there's this really cool example in here about a student named Carlos.
Oh, yeah, Carlos. So he was having a tough time in history class. And at first, everyone just thought, oh, it's the language barrier. He'd just moved to the U.S. and his English wasn't that great.
Makes sense.
But then his teacher realized something deeper was going on.
Oh,
Carlos came from a culture where history and storytelling were totally different. Like how they approached it was just completely different.
oh, interesting.
And the cool thing is, once the teacher switched things up, started using more visuals and group work, Carlos just blossomed.
See, I love that. He brought something unique to the class because of his background.
Exactly. He had this whole different perspective.
Okay, so that ties in perfectly with another big idea from the source material, this concept of identity-affirming practices.
Yeah, love that term.
But what does it actually mean? And why is it so important for teachers to get this right?
Okay, so identity-affirming practices. It's about making a classroom where every student feels seen and respected for exactly who they are.
Okay, that makes sense.
Like, think about it. Using inclusive language, bringing in diverse voices in the curriculum, celebrating all these unique backgrounds and experiences.
So important.
And the research shows that when kids feel truly affirmed in their identity, they're way more likely to participate in class, build stronger relationships, and just, really thrive academically.
It's like if you feel safe and respected for who you are, you can actually focus on learning.
Exactly.
But then there's the flip side, right? Like what happens when kids feel marginalized or invisible? And that made me think about what the source material said about microaggressions.
Yeah.
I feel like we've all seen these happen, even if we didn't always know what to call them.
Oh, absolutely. Microaggressions, they're those sneaky little comments or actions. Sometimes people don't even realize they're doing it, but they send a negative message about someone's identity.
Like those little digs that can really hurt.
Yeah, like a teacher who keeps mispronouncing a student's name or, asking a student to speak for their whole racial or ethnic
Ruth,
group.
they're the spokesperson for everyone.
Yeah, and those things might seem small, but they build up over time. They chip away at a student's sense of belonging and can really mess with their self-esteem and even how well they do in school.
It's like death by 1,000 paper cuts, right? This rush.
Exactly.
So, okay, big question here. We know that a student's identity matters so much in their learning, but what can we actually do about it? How do we make schools and classrooms truly inclusive? Like, where do we even start?
It's a big challenge, no doubt.
It feels overwhelming sometimes.
But it's not impossible. The good news is there are people out there doing amazing work, and the source material actually points to a few of them.
Oh, like who?
Well, there's this organization called the Center for Culturally Responsive Teaching and Learning. They offer these workshops for teachers on stuff like culturally relevant teaching methods and how to understand unconscious bias.
Oh, wow. So they're giving teachers the tools to actually create more inclusive classrooms.
Exactly. And then there's the Teaching Tolerance Program from the Southern Poverty Law Center. They have a ton of resources on how to address things like diversity and social justice in the classroom.
It's like teachers need this kind of support and guidance to really make a difference.
100%. And it's not a one-time thing. It's a constant process of learning and adapting. But when we get this right, when we build those learning environments where every student feels seen and respected and valued for who they are, well, that's when the magic happens.
It's like we're unlocking their full potential, right?
Exactly.
That's such a powerful thought.
It is.
Wow. So this deep dive has really made me think about how much identity matters in education, more than I even realized.
Me too.
And for everyone listening, I want to leave you with this question. How can you take what we've talked about today about identity and inclusion and apply it in your own life.
Ooh, good one.
Like, not just in schools, but in all your interactions and perspectives. How can you be more aware and more inclusive? It's something we all need to keep thinking about, learning about, and working on.
Couldn't agree more.
So until next time, keep diving deep, folks. See you on the next Deep Dive.
Bye, everyone.